So we have about 10 questions on the video.
Okay.
And a couple of others a couple of other ones from the Discord that haven't actually been put into the comment section. We're going to start with the ones on the comment section first.
Yep.
So the most asked question is, will you expand the map further?
Yes, but it really depends what the engine can actually handle. There are two ways I'm going to go with it with the map. Of course, first I work on the map I have now. I concentrate on the Carlist Wars. There were in total 3 Carlist Wars. And after that, I will normally work on Northern Africa, to that part that is in the first map, and then I'm going to probably expand east to map out the Mediterranean. But there are 2 roads I want to go. The first one is the one that is pretty unknown to me, and that is, for example, using the theater system as in Empire Total War. Now the problem is with the Empire Total War system is that Shogun 2 doesn't have the same UI as Empire Total War. So it is going to be a bit difficult because I'm not sure if it's going to work, or if I have to do or add the UI that actually can change the maps automatically. So I'm not really sure. My first try actually failed, but it's because I didn't add everything I had to add in the database. So next time there will be a second opportunity. I'm going to try. Hopefully that is successful. If not, then there is second part, and that is just make or expand the map to the east, like a big map, without any theaters. Of course, there is like kind of a glitch you probably know already, Jeff.
Yeah, the disappearing towns.
Yeah, after the problem is that there's like at the coordinate, in the x coordinate, in the width axis of the map, and in the height also. If you go or you pass a certain coordinate, I think it's the coordinate 350 in the x plus and minus, and in the y plus and minus, they become invisible. So now I'm not sure, maybe I can figure out that it's maybe just a render issue, one of the XML files of the engine itself, because I found out that the water also works a bit the same way. I found that line of code, but for the moment I actually didn't find the part of the settlements. Now I can maybe have a workaround, and that is by maybe creating props as cities. The only thing is, of course, that those cities will not, when you make them, or you level up, of course they will not level up physically, you could say, in the
so
game.
that their model doesn't change when you actually upgrade the city.
Correct. So that is maybe a possibility. So those are the 2 possibilities, or the theater system, but as you heard, I'm not sure if it's going to work, or the other one of the 2. But yes, I'm going to expand. I already actually did 1 test, and that is I made one big map of Europe. So I expand to the north and to the east. That was into Crete, and that worked. It was pretty raw file, but that worked. The only thing is, of course, taking out the glitches and the bugs out, and that's the only thing.
Okay, that's a
long answer. I know.
It's a long answer, but it is the most asked question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, correct.
Just clearing it up now will prevent a lot of stuff in the future.
Correct. Yeah. It's not as easy as people think. Expanding a map is it's not easy as people think. Sometimes people ask questions, but there's sometimes forget also that developing it is not as easy as it is. If Creative Assembly was giving the appropriate tools to do it, or at least give us much more tools, then it will be easier for modders, but I doubt that will happen.
It's actually kind of a nice segue into the next question, which is, assuming there are no engine limitations, how far do you want to take the tech tree?
Ooh. Well, the tech tree is a good question, by the way. I'm going to stay. How am I going to say it? I'm going to keep on using the tech tree that I have in Fall of the Samurai. The only thing is that I will just. I mean, you already have seen it in game. It has different effects. It has different symbols, different names. So I am not going to expand more because I don't think it's even possible. Or you have to change again the UI. But as I said, we don't have appropriate tools to make new graphical user interfaces or UIs for the game. So everything, I mean, the tools that is made by a guy called Tao, he actually made some tools, but it's all in code in XML files. So it's too difficult just to make a new UI in some cases, or you have to work sometimes hours or days for it. If I answered the question, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, that's practically an answer to it. It's again mainly limitations due to lack of existing mod tools.
Yeah, correct.
And unknown engine variables, like if it even would allow you to change the current tech tree.
Yeah, I'm going to keep on using. I don't actually. I personally, my opinion, I like the tech tree. I don't think it has to change that much. Maybe yeah, symbols and pictograms and names and whatsoever. But for the rest, I think it's pretty a good system.
And mainly, of course, upping the amount of turns a research takes, otherwise, you're going to be done in the first 10 years of a campaign.
True, but that has changed. Yeah, I think you have noticed
Yeah,
it.
that has changed. Research time has definitely gone up.
Yeah.
But it's going to be for the future to actually fine tune it for the game length.
No, yeah, that's true. But I think it would also take time because what I did is to I created in the future I'm going to create a tier system unit army. So they will be all linked to the modernization level. So I already have changed. I mean, I already have changed the modernization level. So before you even can go to the next tier in the tech tree, it will take a lot more time. Probably like 10 years in game. I already have tested it. So.
That's, I'd say it takes between 5 to 10 years depending on your starting, depending on the faction you choose, of course.
Yeah, you have to
There, as
modernize.
France, you're going to reach it a lot sooner than, for
Yeah,
example, Spain,
correct.
as Spain's still busy imploding at that point.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And next question is if custom music is going to be added, and that's mostly my fault because I turned off the music in the videos I did to not get the anger of the YouTube copyright system directed towards me.
Well, I mean,
Like you have told me all of it is fair use, so I have now turned it back on for future videos.
yeah, I mean, there are custom music, but mostly have taken, have been taken by Empire and Napoleon Total War, and those ones are not copyrighted. I mean, CA allows you to use it. I mean, a lot of YouTubers, big YouTubers use it, so it's not a problem. So, if I answered the question.
Yeah, just looking for what I can ask as the next one.
Sorry, yeah. Because yeah, you're going to edit it out, of course. Yeah, always
Yeah.
forget about that.
Let's see. Will the mod have atmospheric effects like dust kicking up when units are marching, like in Napoleon Total War?
I think it's already implemented. If I'm not sure, I think yes. Yeah, the same system. Yeah. Normally in desert areas, I think it will be more clouded when they walk. I mean the sand and all, but for the rest, normally it's already implemented.
It's probably going to be a lot more noticeable once the custom maps actually get implemented, because currently everything is just grassland.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Will the mod support multiplayer?
Yes.
easy answer.
Mhm.
When will the first version release to the public?
Well, good question again.
I know,
My
very good question, because this has been a very much discussed topic within the team.
yeah, well, my goal or my personal deadline was end of December because then most people have free from school and all. But I'm a bit behind schedule a bit. I had a bit of a problem, you could say. First with a bug I had in the game with the building chains. I had like 1 week. I had to figure out what was happening. I had a lot of CTDs. And now the next problem I had was I had an issue with my hard drive. So I'm kind of like 3 weeks behind schedule. So yeah, I'm not sure it will be end December, but it's still my goal, let's say.
This is a bit of my own question. Will you release it at the end of December? Will you keep the release date at the end of December even if you haven't implemented everything you are planning to, like custom maps, for example?
Yeah, of course. First goal is have all the units available for Spain, Portugal, that all the factions have their units. And then there will be, I call it a testing weeks, you could say. So I keep it up to the testers and my Patreon members, so they can test it for 2 weeks because probably, you will find some bugs or glitches that I didn't find myself, or, as I don't always have the time to test. But yeah, that's release will be theoretically I release it beginning of December for the testers, and then you have like you, because you are one of them. You will test it for a week or two, for a long time at least, to take out as much as glitches and bugs I can take out, and then it will be for the public.
So people can expect a playable version to be released mid
Yeah,
to end December.
yeah, except no custom battle maps nor custom siege maps.
Okay. Let's see, then questions that were posted in Discord. Let's see, I'm going to have to slide this a bit here. Is it on topic? No, is it? Yeah, it was in feedback. Are you going to be adding Sikh/Indian units to the British Army?
Um, maybe in the future, yes. Now I don't think so. Maybe if I ever arrive in the Indian subcontinent, maybe it will be more interesting. But I am not sure because I think the British Army didn't really use the Indian units yet. Only the East India Company, if I'm not sure. So the East Indian Company was still there until the 50s, I think it was, till 1857. So in the beginning, I don't think we will see any Indian units. So until later on, maybe, um, then there is a possibility, of course.
Like, I'm not sure on how true this is, but I do believe that it took the British Army up until World War One to actually deploy Indian units in Europe.
Yeah, I think the only ones that really used, of course, native Indian troops were the East India Company, and that was until 1857 when you had the what was it, the rebellion of the Sepoys, if I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So
the Sepoy Rebellion, which was then put down by the Gurkhas and British Line Infantry.
yeah, correct. So I think it was only until First World War that they actually really used native Indian units in Europe.
Just
So
colonial troops in general outside of their colonies.
yeah, maybe we can go back to what maybe my plans are for the future, how colonial units will be used. So maybe we can talk about it when you finished your questions.
Yeah, that's something we could come back on. Let's see. How pronounced will technology levels be? As we have mentioned before a couple of times, we're going to have tiers of units. The question is, how pronounced will they be and how viable will they be when for example, just a 1-tier or 2-tier gaps are matched up against each other?
Well, the way it's going to work is that your units will not be replaced automatically. You just, when you modernized the level acquired to go to tier 2 level, you could say, then what it will happen is that where you can recruit the units, the tier level 1 units will be deactivated, and you can only then recruit tier 2 level units. And that means actually you can still fight on against tier 1 level units. If the AI doesn't yet achieve that level, you will still fight against tier 1 level units. The reason why it was the best way to do it that way is because there were some people that were saying that they liked to see tier 2 levels against tier 1 levels, to see really the change of units, like not directly, but like piece by piece, you could say. So I think it's personally a good system where you achieve a certain level of tier of modernization. You then, of course, can only recruit tier 2 level units, and tier level units, you will see they will be grayed out. You cannot recruit them anymore. But your army that you probably are conquering with are still tier 1 level units. So you have to change them then.
So in terms of recruitment cost and upkeep will probably go up as weaponry becomes more expensive, for example?
Yeah, correct.
Meaning that tier 1 units might still be the way to go for a while until you actually have the economy to support tier 2 armies.
Yeah, but it really depends if you need new troops. Because when you need to recruit new troops, you will not be able to recruit tier level 1 units anymore. They will be grayed out if you achieve this certain modernization level, if you understand what I mean.
So, for example, when you're at war and you really need units and they have to be as cheap as possible, keeping your modernization lower to be able to keep having access to tier 1 units would be preferable.
Yeah, that is your choice, of course. Makes a bit, gives you a bit of flexibility. That is correct.
As in the second part of the question, how pronounced would the difference be between the tiers in case of stats and abilities?
Well, between tier 1 and tier 2, there will be not that much of a difference. They were still using smoothbore muskets, except they were not using flintlocks, but then they were using percussion locks. So percussion locks helps you more against, how can I say it, difference of weather styles, while flintlocks in rain, they were really not that good. Percussion locks helps you a bit more with weather, so they
So
will
it
have.
would really decrease your chance of misfires during rain.
Yeah, especially weather. It will also be, there will be a difference with, yeah, especially with environment. So tier 1 and tier 2, there will be no difference except environmental, and the environment, of course, yes. Then there will be a big difference, yeah.
And probably even a bit of reload rate, as percussion caps were a bit faster to reload than flintlocks.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, between tier 1 and tier 2, there will be almost no difference except that situation between flintlocks and percussion locks. But between, yeah, tier 2 and tier 3, there will be a big difference because there we're going to have the introduction of rifled muskets. So, yeah, there will be, I mean, you can even fire further and more accurate.
Let's see, do I have another question here somewhere? Let's see.
You can ask personal ones, no problem. I mean, if you have some questions for yourself.
It's one that shows up a lot in the feedback channel. why is it that all DLCs are needed for the mod to function?
For version 1, that was actually my mistake. It was my first overhaul. Actually, I really didn't know how to mod or what were the requirements. So in that case, yeah, sadly, I used a lot of parts of Rise of the Samurai and of Shogun 2 and of Fall of the Samurai. So they got mixed up, and that's why you have to use all the DLCs. With the V2, normally you don't need that. I think you only need Shogun 2 and Fall of the Samurai. With this version, you will only need Shogun 2 and Fall of the Samurai also. There will be no, I mean, Fall of the Samurai you will need for campaigns, and you need Shogun 2 for custom battles. So even if you only have Fall of the Samurai, you can still play a campaign without using or having Shogun 2.
So custom battles and multiplayer are going to require you to actually have the base game, while the campaign itself only requires Shogun to stand alone.
Yeah, and that is not my fault. That's CA's fault. They locked actually the factions in Fall of the Samurai. So I am obliged to use Shogun 2 for custom battles because otherwise
You would not have enough factions to change
exactly.
how to actually represent everyone.
Yeah. So if people are starting to nag, not my fault, guys. CA.
Well, the fact that you don't need all of the other stuff is already a huge improvement over V1 and V2.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I really have looked into that, so because I had that question a
It's
lot.
yeah, that's going to make a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
No. Are there currently attempts at recruiting new people into the modding team?
Phew. I'm going to be honest. Looking for modders with specific skills is really difficult. I receive a lot of messages like, "Ah, yeah, I want to be part of the modding team." But when I ask the question, "What are your skills?" they don't have really skills of doing 2D art, neither 3D art, or they have no idea how the modding tools work. So yeah, in that case, it's a bit difficult to find people to be part of a modding team. They are, of course, I'm still in need of testers, of course, because I need more testers with more feedback. But even in that situation, also, I get a lot of people, yeah, they want to test, but then I don't see them for a month or so. So yeah, it's a bit difficult. Now I understand that people have their private lives. So, but it's difficult. I think Sarah has the same situation with her mod with Last Alliance, that she's looking for a lot of artists, 3D artists, 2D artists. It's really difficult.
So it mainly just boils down to that there are not enough people that actually have the skills to either mod Shogun 2 or the interest or time to devote to making 2D and 3D assets.
Yeah, exactly. I think also the issue is that people want to be a part of a modding team, but they are not open to learn. I always give the advice like, look, learn first how the modding tools work, just as I did, and then go with or ask a modding team to help out. I mean, like the medieval 12-12 teams, they have like scripters and whatsoever. They have like really a big team. But yeah, in Shogun 2, it's an older game, so it's more difficult to find some people.
As most of them have either quit or moved on to newer Total Wars.
Yep, correct.
Anything left you want to say? Any questions you might have to, like, the audience, for example?
Um, oh, well, read the description.
Go to the FAQ page, people.
Yeah, I'm just like, I get so many questions that are mostly written on the description. There's one question I get so much, and that's in V1 about the how is it again? The bombardment. Yeah, I know it's a bug, but I've written it down in the description on the forum and on Steam. So yeah, read the description and then ask a question about it, because I get it so much times and it makes me crazy sometimes to answer over and over and over like, hey guys, it's in the description. I know it's it's a bug. I can't take it out because people ask me, "Ah, take it out." Sorry, but I don't have time for it. Pretty simple.
That actually brings me nicely back to one of the questions I filtered out, and that is, can you please make units recruitable in V2?
Yeah. Look, V2 was going to be or was going to have a campaign initially. At least that was my goal. But there were so many bugs and glitches. I mean, there's a graphical bug with the uh, the HD textures, because that's also a problem with the engine. You know,
With
you
like
also,
just bodies disappearing.
yeah, especially when you are fighting against an army with all different texture files that the engine has to render. I have noticed, and I didn't know it in the beginning because, yes, EA doesn't say so, but the engine, at least in Shogun 2, can only handle a certain amount of texture files, at least in one battle. Doesn't matter if you have it on campaign, but in one battle,
which
only. Yeah, tell me.
which then resulted in the videos of V2 having random textures missing.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to lower it down to 512 by 512, at least max for just the uniform. So that's why, yeah, I'm not going to, if you see how many texture files there are, I'm not going to change all texture files just because to make them recruitable. So yeah, who knows, maybe I will make another V2, whatever, but I doubt it.
Once upon a time in the far future when there might be a team.
Yeah, I mean, I think me and Sarah both are really supporting mothers. We actually created a lot of tutorials. We actually create a lot of I mean, not really tools, but we explain a lot. And it's sad to see that there are not so many modders for Shogun 2. It's actually the most moddable game of all Total War games. But okay, I guess maybe people are not really interested in doing it.
It's mostly because the popularity of Total War in and of itself as a historical strategy game is kind of fading,
Yeah,
as the couple of latest titles have been disappointing, together with the fact that Shogun 2 is already kind of an old game.
true. But then I get a lot of questions, or I see when, for example, I don't think it's a fault of the YouTubers also, but I see always on most of the famous, you could say, or the popular Total War YouTubers, I don't see so much Shogun 2 lately or Fall of the Samurai. I do see lately one person that is adding it more, or for example, if you request. But even then, if you request, I like, oh, can you please showcase the mod or whatsoever? I mean, they say yes, but I know they don't have so much time, and their priority is like the newer games that actually no one cares about. That is really actually baffles me that they still do it. I don't know why, but because I get a lot of questions like, yeah, why is there no Victoria Total War or Empire 2 Total War or whatsoever, or Gunpowder Total War? And yeah, I see a lot of YouTubers still using Rome 2 Total War, Attila Total War, or Warhammer, or 3K. 3K, not that much, please. Yeah, if
No,
not,
3K really disappeared.
yeah, it did disappear. Yeah,
I just looked it up. Shogun 2 released in 2011, so it's 9 years old at this point.
yeah. I think Fall of Samurai came in 2012 or 13. I think yes, because remember that Fall of Samurai is, while it's such a strange game. It's actually part of Shogun 2, but it isn't part of Shogun 2. Even if you are modding the game, like Rise of the Samurai is part of Shogun 2. It's so strange when you mod it, but Fall of the Samurai entirely not.
Fall of the Samurai, in and of itself, really was attempted to be developed as a standalone game, but for some reason, it still was partially part of Shogun 2. I really don't know why they did it that way.
Uh,
But then re releasing it as a saga also didn't really uncomplicate things.
No, that was a terrible decision of CA. I mean,
Uh,
Follow the Samurai is such a good game, and Shogun 2 also. It saddens me that because actually, to go further with this, I remember I played Total War for the first time when playing Rome Total War, and I remember how I loved that game. I fell in love with the franchise, let's say. But it was the first time I remember very well because I pre-ordered for the first time in my life. It was Rome 2 Total War.
oh, the disappointment, the
Oh,
disappointment.
you can't believe it. I couldn't play it for a whole month. Really, I just couldn't play it. The battles, when I was going to the battles, it was always crashing. And I remember it's because I had an AMD processor, and for one reason or another, I know they didn't code it well for AMD processors, and I just couldn't play the game for a whole month until they patched it, and then I could play it. But I was so tired of it. I was like, man, what's the bloody point?
First,
So,
the first Total War I played was Rome 2, but I played it like a year after initial release, so
oof, yeah,
I actually skipped the period that the game was deemed as mostly unplayable.
yeah,
And after that, I then moved back to Shogun 2 Fall of the Samurai, then the rest of Shogun 2, and eventually I did buy all the older Total Wars, but I have not actually had the time to play them yet.
yeah. I was really also happy with Empire Total War when they announced it, and I played the game. Has a lot of bugs, but I still actually love the game.
Well,
Napoleon a bit
then
lesser, but Empire really loved like the world system, like a world game where you could conquer. But yeah, I don't know what happened after Shogun 2. It's still for me it's still a mystery because after Fall of the Samurai was like the pinnacle of Total War games, personally in my opinion. And then from then on it just came down for me. I never played Attila Total War, never.
I
And I
have,
only
and I'd rather play Total. I'd rather play Rome 2 in the initial release date.
oh, is it that crazy?
It is mainly that everything you could control in previous Total Wars is taken out of your control. Like religion, public order, sewage, disease. It's all tied to variables that you have no control over. Like, for example, public order gets dragged down by immigration, which is caused by war. In Total War.
Yeah, that's strange. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be you that's at war. If a neighboring faction is at war, you also get a similar debuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I never played it. I own the game, but I never played it. I even bought 3K, but I don't know even why. I never played it. I just I
3K
tried.
was 3K was not as bad as Attila in that point. It's just that 3K was barren.
Yeah, I
Out
just
of such a rich cultural place, you basically gave all the factions the exact same units.
well that yeah, but they also say that about Shogun too, right? Same thing actually. Shogun 2 also have like all the Japanese clans of the same units.
But the thing with Shogun 2 is that that there is enough that there is a large enough amount of units,
And yeah, variety.
that there is actual variety in the game, that you have the option to make different army builds compared on what your faction gives you bonuses for.
Yeah. For me, it was just the best AI. I mean, personally, I mean, the AI is always brain dead in Total War, but when I still play Vanilla Shogun 2, the AI is not that dumb, I must say. If I see previous games or run 2 Total War games, the AI was really brain dead.
Like, I didn't realize how bad the AI actually was until I started watching Legend of Total War,
Yeah, he's chasing all his Total War
and
games.
he has not stopped completely molesting the AI.
Yeah, cheesing it.
Not just cheesing it, he has actually been able to completely break Troy on release.
Yeah, but I mean, Troy. Just come on, Troy. I mean, who cares about Troy? Let's be honest.
Honestly, with the amount of YouTube videos coming out, no one.
I mean, when I saw Troy, I mean, I'm like, okay, it's a Bronze Age game. No, it isn't. It's a superhero game.
It's a reskinned Total War Warhammer.
Yeah, I mean,
but without the demons.
yeah, like Age of Mythology, but it's not really Age of Mythology. Yeah, I'm not, especially it's on Epic, and I'm like, I'm not going to Epic. Even for free, I don't really care about it. I mean, have you seen the collision in the game?
I actually haven't seen that much of it because of everything that's been said around it.
Yeah, you have to see the video about the collision of units. It's terrible. You can just go, you just walk through the units when you fight.
Oh, so they don't actually collide.
Yeah, that's so
So
strange.
the models don't collide, but a hitbox of the unit collides.
Yeah, no, I've never played it, so of course I cannot say. But mostly I've seen on YouTube. I think even Pixelated Apollo, I think, was tired because of that, and he didn't want to play Total War anymore. So it was pretty funny.
That's harsh.
Yeah, I mean he came back to it, but he plays the older ones, so the ones he likes actually.
The good ones.
Yeah, the good ones. I mean, Empire, if you still play it, it's still buggy, you could say, but I still like it. You know. So yeah, that's why I choose Fall of the Samurai, because for me it was it's my favorite game of all Total Wars. My favorite.
Just going to look for anything else to ask.
Maybe you have to do more Q&As, and maybe with the entire team.
Yeah, I was just dragging the entire team in might actually be something nice to do in the future. It's mainly coordinating, finding a time when everyone's online and available because, well, time zones.
Yeah, true. Well, I don't mind in the night, but I don't know you, because I think you got university, I guess. So
Yeah, it really depends on the day. I do have days off, so I can actually have a semi completely fucked up sleeping schedule and still be fine. That is certainly something I actually want to do in the future. I definitely want to do more community events in the future, especially once the playable version of the mod releases, and we then, for example, hold like community multiplayer events a couple of weekends in a row.
yeah, I've done it a couple of times with Lord John. Some multiplayer battles. He's a YouTuber also.
Yeah, I know of him.
Yeah, he's the one I support the most actually, because he's really a person out of principle. He doesn't like to play games or Total War games that are melee based games. He really stuck on gunpowder games, so mostly. So that's why I really appreciate that. When I also ask him to do a showcase, he always does it. So I really appreciate that of him, because it's not funny. I always get questions. Yeah, why is it not so popular, the mod? So yeah, I mean, it's not really my fault. I mean, maybe yeah, YouTubers don't like to play it, or I don't know, or other people don't like to play it. So no idea.
That's actually one of the reasons I did start making YouTube videos on a mod, is to actually start getting interest going again, building up a bit of hype towards the playable version release.
Yeah, because people have asked for a long time for a campaign.
And campaign is coming. Just a
Yeah,
little bit more patience.
I worked hard on the campaign. Oof, really, it was tough. Plus, with the feedback of the mod team and the testers, had to change a lot of stuff and ideas, so it wasn't easy. And then I still have to make the field battle maps and siege battle maps, and
then naval still has to come.
Yeah, the Navy. So, well, the Navy, most ships will come from Napoleon Total War, especially the first tier ships. They were all wooden ships like post-Napoleonic. They were almost kind of the same until the 1850s. Then things started to change with more steam power ships.
Yeah, then you start to get your steam-powered ships, your ironclads, bigger guns, eventually evolving into your actual cruisers and destroyers.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, the question people ask me also are you able to create a turret system for future ships? I think not. So you cannot, that I remember or that I know, is that create a turret system that the cannons can turn and shoot. So I don't think that's a possibility. I do have an idea for if I ever go there and we are to the more battleships that style, that maybe put cannons on a side where they can shoot from far, but to turn them, you still have to turn the ship, let's say.
For example, couldn't you just have the turret be a stock object that doesn't turn, but then give it a large firing arc, so it can still shoot to the sides?
That's a possibility, yeah. Of course, except of course that the cannonball that comes out, the cannon maybe doesn't really come straight out of the pipe, you could say.
Well, if you're shooting at if you're doing a broadside, it's still going to be flying out at a 90-degree angle.
Oh yeah, but people and
But if it is a possibility to actually have those ships that way, it might be better than not having them at all.
yeah, true, but it is possible. There is a workaround. There's almost a workaround in everything. You just have to have a bit of, let's say, fantasy, a little bit, let's say,
And a lot of time for testing.
Yeah, that's I don't even want to think about it. The amount of work that's spinning in my head to add all of those stuff. I'm just concentrating on this part with later on wooden ships and naval maps. So the game is going to be unique. So that's already a thing that people will receive.
Well, in and of itself, it is the highest. It is going to be the most modern version of Total War outside of the World War mods.
Yeah, correct. Now I don't know if I ever going to go to a World War One era.
Yeah, you have stated to have a hard cutoff on 1910 for the technology level.
Well, my goal is until the 1900. You could say until the Russo-Japanese War. That's
So
actually
1904, 1905.
Yeah, that is really the last part of, I think, date that a total war can maybe handle. I don't think a World War One. I don't see the AI, because people sometimes are saying like, yeah, but why didn't you do it? Well, it's because the AI has to handle it also. Maybe you can handle it, but the AI can't handle it.
And the World War One mod for Napoleon actually had a lot of work done on the AI to get it to the state that it is in now.
Yeah.
Where it can actually use stuff like bunkers and tanks.
Yeah, correct. But they're still the tanks that they are using. It's still the same cannon engine that they are using. So it isn't a tank. I mean, it doesn't behave. It behaves like a cannon, not like a tank. So there's a workaround that the modders did to have a tank in game. So, and bunkers and whatever. So yeah, it's a bit. I think this engine, at least to follow the Samurai, can handle World War One scenarios. I think it's kind of impossible, because the AI is really, you have to make the AI choose between early Victorian age and late Victorian tactics, let's say. It's too difficult. So
Another question for me: do you play any other type of games outside of Total War, or strategy games in general?
I did, but I sadly didn't have time anymore.
Yeah, all
So
your time is going up into the modding.
yeah, I love the. That's why I actually created the resources and all, and to make them so important because I loved Anno 1404. I mean, now you have the new one, of course, Anno 1800. I really love the Anno games, well, the 1404 and the 1800. I really like to play those games. Actually, I have my idea of resources actually came from that game, especially Anno 1404. The other games, previously I played a lot of strategy games, like well, Total War, of course, was my first priority in most cases, but um, I played EU4, I think, one time, a couple of times. Um, and which one again? There were many games like Age of Empires, Age of Mythology. The one I actually really like was Rise of Nations. You have ever heard of that game?
I'm going to have to look it up because I can't remember it on top of my head.
Yeah, it was also a Microsoft game. It was a pretty cool idea. It's actually based on Age of Empires, but there you had capitals. You had capitals and you had cities around, and you could really make an empire, and you could go from the early times into the late times to the modern times, and also was also pretty cool. A bit like Empire Earth, you could say.
It's like a more expanded Age of Empires.
Yeah, but interesting to play.
Yes, Microsoft is working on Age of Empires 4.
Yeah, let's see how it goes.
And Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition has recently been released.
Played it a lot, especially the second one. I played Age of Empires 2 with a lot of friends when I was really young. So, yeah, good memories of that game.
I actually used to play Age of Empires a lot at school because the LAN network in school wasn't set up to filter out video games, and we only had personal hard drives of like 2 GB, and everything
Oh,
else had to be on external hard drives. And the only game we had that would actually fit on it was Age of Empires 2, so we would just play that in class.
cool. Uh, Never played a game in class, I remember. So, but yeah, it's been a time I've been to school. So, what about your ideas, questions, or things about the mod or experience? I mean, actually, you created a nice playthrough. I watched a couple of times to see if there were like special things. The British campaign was very interesting. I think it's recommended to play that way.
And especially as the UK, it's recommended to be very aggressive, very in the early game, because otherwise you're going to be left behind. Because
Yeah,
you're not going to have the economy to keep up with anyone else.
that is correct. And I mean, I will make in the future some videos. What are some recommendations? But my recommendation is always to conquer a region fast that has stone and wood.
Stone, wood, and then for trading you have
Yeah,
silver, gold, and iron as the most valuable.
correct. Now that will change in the future if I go to bigger maps because there wasn't really gold and silver in Spain. So normally they were all
A
in
bit of creative license.
yeah, so normally we're all in mostly in South America, so or in Africa. So yeah, it's if I ever go there, the silver and gold mines are going to get away. So then people know.
But mainly as the UK, it's really trying to get that. I can't remember the name of the settlement now, but it's the Andalusian settlement that actually has an iron mine. It's like generally just recommend to get that one first and get trade with France going as soon as possible, because
Yeah.
that will actually on its own allow you to have a 12 to 20 unit army on the field, depending on how much income you want to have per turn.
Yeah. I really created the game because I have seen in vanilla games because I get a question or feedback a lot from you guys, also from Palaiologos about that to increase town wealth and region wealth. They have been increased now already, and I think now I'm on the sweet spot. Now the reason why it isn't like the vanilla is because my focus is resources and trade, as it has to be in the Victorian era. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Now, of course, it already has been increased, so if you increase your building levels and you can build more buildings, of course you get more region wealth, town wealth, and a lot of buffs, of course, for your taxes. But the most money you will get is out of resources. I mean, trading resources, exporting resources, like those valuable trade resources like iron, silver, and gold. I mean, gold, of course, especially.
Like, doing the British campaign did take me to 3 to 4 years in game, and even at that point, town wealth didn't become something like in the base game that just spirals out of control.
Yeah, that is correct.
Like in the base game, especially in the late game, you will never have any problem with money just from taxation. And that is something, like you have said before, you want to change, as war during that period of time had more to do with getting trade deals than with actual territorial expansion.
That is correct, and a trade is essential. I've noticed also in your game, I think you have showed it really nicely in your playthrough that you were really looking for a resource that give you a lot of money to export. So it's a smart way to play. It's not always easy. You really have to know it, because maybe you think, just by conquering regions, I will get a lot of tax money.
Like this, especially not the Spanish territory, which at that point have been going through like 5 or 10 turns of negative public order, which just basically completely destroys the town wealth.
Correct.
As it's like minus 75 per turn for negative public order.
That is correct. Yeah, if you do not resolve it. Yeah.
Which is really harsh, especially on the person that actually has to fix it afterwards, as it's going to take a long time to actually get anything from value out of it.
Yeah, public order is an important part of the game. People forget we are in the Victorian era. We had many revolutions, we had many rebellions in those times. So it's up to the player to know what to do. Public order becomes an important part, because not because you're going to lose a territory, but it will be more about losing town wealth.
It's that actually brings me into a final question, and that's probably also going to be the final one for now, as we've been going for a bit more than 50 minutes at this point.
Okay.
It's we have already seen how the Spanish Carlist rebellions are being handled through scripts. The question was if other European rebellions will also be handled that way, and if you will have the option to play as the rebels.
Play as rebels? No, sadly not. It's a bit difficult to play as an emergent factions. For that, you have to really give them a city already available when you start playing the game. So, but how can I say, rebellions and all and revolutions, they will reflect indeed in game by scripts, not by creating a rebel army like this. I think the player has to know, like with Spain, like, oh, there is a minus I don't know how much for this reason. So, and then he has to try it, or she has to try to stop the rebellion. So at least you have a visual thing to see, like, oh, something is happening. So, and if you don't do nothing, so things.
So if you do respond in time, and also depending on the game difficulty, you can actually prevent rebellions and uprisings from taking place.
Correct. Yeah. But as I say, if you have a serious big amount of territory and you don't have troops in the neighborhood, you probably are screwed.
So, for example, as France, you start getting a rebellion in Paris and all of your armies are on the Spanish border fighting the Carlists, you're probably going to lose Paris.
Yeah, you have to send troops back to Paris. Yeah, sucks, I know, but that's how it was in real life.
That's how it was. That's historically accurate. So I don't really see a need to do it differently.
Yeah, that's indeed how it's going to be. Yeah.
So I think that should have answered all questions we currently have. I'm probably going to do more rounds of Q&As in the future and hopefully get in more members of the team,
Yeah,
which would be
perfect.
very interesting to also hear their takes on it. So I would thank you for taking an hour of your time to answer these questions.
No problem.
And I will do my best to get this one edited and uploaded as soon as possible.
Perfect. Curious what people say, of course.
It's going to be a long one for sure, so it's going to take a while before reactions start trickling in.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the Q&A.
No problem.